page, but I haven't told anyone, so there shouldn't be any shenanigans. Sweet. Okay, so we are live with two of the cast members and also one of the creators of the Switch. Oh, nice artwork in the background.
Yeah, I'm in a coffee shop in downtown Vancouver. I found one that has both wireless and an internet connection, as sometimes familiar with another. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, actual like plug-in Ethernet connection.
Sorry.
Wow, that is rare to find. Like a plug-in Ethernet connection. Wireless and actually has decent internet.
Oh no, the last place there's a wireless. They have wireless, but it actually doesn't connect to anything.
Yeah, it's one of those false advertisements. Yeah, we have things that don't have wires on them. You have coffee cups, they're wireless.
Well, no, if you want to wirelessly share files between two computers, do that,
okay.
I guess. As one often does in a coffee shop, you know.
So business. Although you're in business right now, I suppose. Right, let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
So you're both people involved in the Switch, the new upcoming television program. It's the first, I believe, transgender sitcom with a transgender main character, which we've been wanting for friggin' years. Can you tell us a bit about the program and how you both got involved with it?
Sure.
Amy?
Okay, well, it started off as a comedy routine, which was delivered at a transgender event back in 2009 with my comedy routine partner, Elizabeth Marston. And we wound up moving to different cities, and we're like, what do we do with this comedy routine? Transgender people absolutely love it, but we have this demographic that's kind of far in between. How do we reach people, right? So we thought about doing a comic book, and then we realized that you could make this thing called a web series. There was this thing called the Guild, and we were going, wow, I guess this is totally doable. These bunch of nerds have gone out and made this really cool web series. We should do that too. And then we made a web series pilot, and LTV saw it, and they wanted to option it as a 22-minute kind of thing. And we're like, okay, fine, we'll make a TV show. So we made a pilot, and they've optioned another 5 episodes for a total of 6. And we have a contract for possibly more than that. Yeah. It's been an extraordinary learning process trying to figure out how to write, produce, and act in a TV show.
That is quite a change from just a sketch routine. I mean, before that, did you plan on doing acting for television at any point, or was it just
Nope.
came with the evolution of that? Oh man!
It came with the evolution of that. I've had some TV acting gigs at this point and some film acting gigs, but so it's a job I now have, I guess, but it certainly wasn't a plan for them.
Nice. A welcome surprise.
Yeah. I mean, in Vancouver, we shoot all of this science fiction, right? Like Battlestar Galactica was shot here, and
X-Files
was shot here, but I'm not sure. Watchmen, X-Files, Global Frequency, Outer Limits, Continuum, bunch of movies, X-Men. Yeah, and I love science fiction, and I always actually during my transition was really before it too. The only I lived in a very conservative town in the interior of British Columbia, which is the westernmost province in Canada, and the only way to see gender variant women was on television because I think I met exactly one butch person growing up.
Oh man!
She was the subject of a significant amount of derision. So that was how I related to my gender, and and it's oh, I can go do this thing. And it's science fiction is kind of there's something that welcomes gender variant women. Part of it is because science fiction also often has this militaristic bent, which is kind of masculinist, not always in a really good way. But it also is because science fictions are hey, we can play with social norms and gender norms.
Oh, exactly.
That was a very long answer.
Oh, definitely a good one though. So,
Chance, over to you.
What was the question again?
How did you get involved with Trembling Void and the Switch?
Well, I had originally auditioned back when it was a web series, but due to a series of events, I it didn't end up getting to be a part of it or show up for my second audition or something. I don't remember. And then back in May or June, you guys did casting or something? I got hunted down by the casting director who had come and did a class because I was attending an acting school here in Vancouver. And he's like, oh, you need to come in, you need to audition. And I auditioned for it, and then I got the part. And I found out kind of more what the whole thing was about, and now I've kind of been all like, yeah, let's do this. So I'm not entirely involved with Trembling Void, but I know what it is, and I'm a part of the show. That's my answer. I auditioned and I got a part.
Fantastic.
And Chance has also been contributing a lot of his time to art and outreach, which we are very grateful.
Why, thank you. I do what I can.
Fantastic.
All right.
Let's see. So we've seen a bit of your character, Amy, Chris, in the pilot, but Chance, we haven't got to see your character, Phil, at all yet. Can you tell us a bit about Phil, who he is and what he does?
Oh, well, Phil is, I mean, personally, he's my favorite character in the show, but that could be biased. He's exciting. I think everyone's really gonna love him. I don't really know how much of it I'm willing to describe the character. I want it to be a bit of a surprise, but he's an FTM, and he's new to the area. He's not in the show, in the pilot. No, you guys haven't seen him yet, but he's coming in very shortly, and I really love this character because it's very much actually quite different from me in our behaviors and our personality, but a lot of our feelings and understanding of the world and wants and desires are very similar, so it's a lot of fun. But I'll tell you this much. You're going to love him. He's funny. He's very well written. And he's got a British accent.
Fantastic.
Sort of.
Sort of. Don't give away too many secrets.
Well, what I can tell you, just because I'm imagining a lot of people in the UK are going to be looking at this and being like, why does this man have like 4 different British accents? That is very deliberate. That is extremely intentional. That is not like a screw up. It's there was a TV show where Anthony Stewart Head had played a character trying to adopt an American accent.
Mm-hmm.
This is somewhat poorly. There is a similar reason behind this.
Okay. So long as it's deliberate, that's all right.
It's very deliberate. Yeah, I was afraid that people in the UK are going to be like, what the fuck?
No, bad.
That does happen sometimes, but it has to be a truly awful accent attempt. Like, I don't know if either of you seen the anime dub of Black Butler.
What now?
No.
It's an anime called Black Butler. Basically, the 2 main characters, both American actors behind them, have incredibly good, well-done accents. Brina Palencia, one of them, studied a lot of period drama and learned from that. The 3 background characters have truly horrific ones. And most people just kind of try to forget about those characters and focus on, no, the main characters are fantastic. We love this series. What about the side ones? They look nice.
Yeah, well, as long as they look nice.
They're mostly background elements, so it's okay. But no, you really have to make a bad hackney job of it, and even then, it's usually just funny.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing the roots and seeing how many accents you have.
I think there might even be some Scottish and Irish that makes its way out, some Australian too. I just kind of wing it.
It is a deliberately bad accent. We're aware.
Language lessons with Chance coming soon. Let's see. And Amy, your character, Chris, we got to see a bit of in the pilot. Very, very interesting. Very fun to watch, definitely.
Thank you.
What can we look forward to seeing from Chris in more of the series? Is there many changes from the original pilot, or is he very much a similar kind of person?
Well, we see Chris. All of the characters, all the main characters, have some sort of an arc over the first season. I mean, the theme of the Switch is people coming out of a state of isolation, and Chris has adopted what you may have inferred is a peculiar way of paying the rent. You may infer this from their activities in the pilot. And so Chris got into that in part because they were an isolated person, and it didn't make much of a difference. And now they've realized that they've completely removed themselves from a sense of community, and they want that back, or they want it for the first time. There's this growth, and Chris questioning the ramifications of what they do for a living. But they're still, persnickety and cheap. I assure you that doesn't change.
Frugal.
Frugal. I am frugal. That's true. Frugal. Practical. You don't need heat all the time. You can wear a parka indoors.
That's the Canadian way to wear a parka indoors.
Well, I have actually, I have friends who are living in a house where this is a thing because there are some problems with the heat in the winter. So there's also some issues with making sure that you can, if it gets really cold out, you want to make sure your food is thawed, and your water is thawed.
I love how we're talking about wearing parkas inside. I'm wearing plaid, and we're representing Canada right now. Here we go.
Oh yeah, that's right.
With us playing stereotype bingo at home.
Eh?
The Switch is also shot and set in Vancouver, which is a little unusual because we're almost always used to stand in for an American city on television. And it's also a view of Vancouver that is not what you see in, for example, Real Housewives of Vancouver or Continuum. It's Vancouver as it's experienced, frankly, by most people, which is the city that has a lot going for it, but doesn't particularly want most of the population around. It prices people out. City Hall isn't really on it. People have a variety of creative solutions to housing. It has a mixed attitude, frankly, towards immigration. There's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of room for hope.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So the Switch is going to bust all kinds of myths.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, are there any, actually, speaking of the myths and misconceptions, actually, are there any other particular trans-related myths or misconceptions you're wanting to tackle with the rest of the series? Because so far we've had, we've had a few things of it, like watching, I keep wanting to say, Julie, no, what's his name? Sue. Yes. Sue's and then there's also the Breakdown the Wall music video. Being like, yeah, secondary scanning at airports. That's crap. That shouldn't be happening. Is there anything else in particular you're looking forward to busting?
Mr. Kingsmith?
Wow. Well, one of the things that I really like about what the show is doing and tackling some misconceptions is it's mentioned in the show and stuff like that, but my entire life, the only conception that I had of transgender people from what I'd learned from the media was the street worker transvestites kind of thing, and so seeing that, there's somebody who has a job and that they're working and that there's all this kind of stuff, I'm really glad that we're moving past that stereotype and that belief and then showing a more positive representation of trans people. So that's the one thing that I'm most looking forward to.
I'd like to make sure I point out that over the course of the show we do have a dialogue around different forms of sex work. Which is done with the generous services of a consultant on the subject, Tina Cottle, who is also our publicist.
Fantastic.
And our goal is not to be like, oh no, none of us are sex workers because that's false, or that sex work is wrong or terrible because that's also false. It's to talk more about the stigma around sex work, like people why people get into different forms of it, how there's a variety of forms of it, and so on.
Definitely
so,
another good thing to do.
Smashing stereotypes. First of all, we have transgender people who are gender variant or non-binary in identification. We have transgender people playing transgender roles. We have transgender people playing transgender roles that do not correspond to their identities.
That's a good one.
We go through this. We have characters looking for work, characters dealing with bullying at school, people getting harassed from using the washroom, transgender participation in gender-segregated sports. Possibly in the first season, depending on what our Kickstarter winds up looking like. We've got one about dating if you're transgender and you're dating cis people. How do you talk about this? We have cis characters. I don't want to give too much away, but they assume that the people that are going out with are trans, and then it turns out they're not. And they're quite shocked and horrified, so it's a bit of a parody on the crying game.
Nice.
Like, oh my god, you didn't tell me you were cis, and we started going, I'm sorry, I'm feeling deceived.
I like the switch.
Nice.
Let's see, we talk about assessment. We have ambiguous relationships with policing. We have characters who are on a variety of sides of the law. Someone who considers themselves to be like in a traditional liberal format, a law-abiding citizen. We have people who do different forms of illegal things to get by. We have a character who is a police officer, and we have all these characters having different, very not. There's a dialogue. People don't agree on their attitude towards policing. We talk about trans people and assessment. We have an episode, again, this is with the Kickstarter, hopefully that we can shoot about crossing the border if you're transgender, and the valiant efforts of border services to protect people from being human trafficked, which is to say, like, oh, you're a transgender woman of color and you're traveling with condoms. Clearly being forced to do something against your will. We're going to save you and then mark you off as having been saved from human trafficking by deporting you. Which I wish I was making this up. This actually was a problem. This is one of the reasons we've had trouble casting from outside the country. Is that the lead in our web series, the first time she came to Canada, she got deported. She got randomly selected and deported. And the second time, when I was like, okay, I'm going to drive to Seattle, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to come back with you with this giant stack of paperwork, which I don't actually need to have. But I got there, and like Border Services kind of wanted me to prove that I wasn't her pimp.
Oh, good God, people!
And it's like, no, she's been on this TV show. Like, what the hell? Like, sorry. Anyway, I'm trying to think of other stereotypes we do. People dealing with mental health issues, and breaking with and people who do have a binary identity breaking with gender norms of their binary identity. So that's the first season.
Wow.
Basically, we're going to tackle everything all at once.
Well, the thing is, like, people ask, like, what happens in the show, and I'm like, well, a lot of we're not like, let's write a trans plot. We're just kind of like, let's do this thing that a lot of cis people deal with, and it's like, oh, right, the character who's doing this is trans, and often is, like, experiencing, like, other intersecting oppressions, and it's like, oh, yeah, this plot just got very different very fast.
It's an interesting thing, though. Like, if anyone watching this hasn't seen the pilot yet, go see the pilot, because it may sound like there's a lot going on here, but it's very well paced. It's really funny, and yeah, one of the great things is that Sue's character has the most normal problems compared to some of the other more fantastical or illegal things going on from her friends. And again, the switch, the juxtaposition there is just lovely. It's fantastic to watch. Really, really funny and fantastic executed. And brilliant casting of Julie Vu, by the way. Just fantastic.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
I agree. I love it.
And brilliant casting of your fine sense.
Well,
are there any large differences? Oh, sorry, no, after you.
Julie actually, people occasionally ask us, and some people will probably be asking, how did you discover Julie Vu? And Julie Vu actually found us.
Oh!
Just that people are aware of that.
That's fantastic.
You, like, tracked us down like after we shot the web series and was like, hi, here's my resume, here's some photos of me, I want to be on the show, here's who I am, and so on. So
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
Man. I'll put a link somewhere here to Julie's YouTube channel as well, because she's just fantastic. So that's totally brilliant. Let's see. Are there any large differences between the first episode and the pilot you shot? Like, will you be reshooting it again with differences after Kickstarter clears, or using the same episode as episode 1?
I think I'm in the next episode.
Chances in episode 3, 5, 5A if we wind up shooting it, 6, 6A if we wind up shooting it, and I think 8. Sorry, differences. Prospectively, we've got some feedback from the broadcaster. There's a couple of things they'd like us to tweak, and we've had the writing team be like, okay, we'd like to go back and fix a couple of things. Again, it kind of depends on where we are in terms of funding and space and acting availability and so on. There's about 4 or 5 minutes that we're like, hey, we could go back and we could probably do this better in new and interesting ways that are really going to surprise people if we have the resources to do so. I don't want to tell too much about what they're going to be.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely whets the appetite, though.
Thank you.
Let's see. The question for either of you, well, both. Are there any queer portrayals in media you remember that, for good or bad, were particularly important or poignant to you?
Boys Don't Cry.
Oh God, the tears.
Yeah.
It's a good film. It's one of those films where it's really good, but I didn't enjoy it. I appreciated it.
Exactly.
It's like Dad and Harry Brown. They're both so dark that it's like,
yeah,
good film, bad feelings.
Well, for me, the reason it was so important is because I didn't know that there was such a thing as an FTM. I thought there was only such a thing as an MTF, which is, now when I think back and use my common sense, it doesn't make any sense. So that was the first time that I'd ever heard of it or seen it, and I just related to the character in that sense. And so it was the first time that there was somebody on TV who understood to a sense of what I felt that I could never tell anybody in the entire world. And so it's one of those important movies and one of those important individuals in history. I mean, Brandon Tina was a real person, but Hilary Swank's performance stuck with me, pretty important. Amy?
I mean, growing up, I always liked seeing gender-varying women in science fiction in some capacity. So anything that anything Michelle Williams has done on, she's been on Star Trek and Global Frequency and Battlestar Galactica. When I was transitioning, I actually went through the list of every gender variant woman I could find. Just tick, 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 tick. So if these walls could talk too, Bound, Set It Off. I tried high art. I didn't get into high art as much. And that Katie Lang film about Kotzebue.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, it's like in Alaska, isn't it? Or something?
Walk through the snow barefoot just to wind up back at your door. It's her song is all the way through it, but I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. Comments. This is why there are comments.
Eye of the Beholder?
Nope.
Oh wow, there's a lot of film credits. I will add it in words here afterwards.
All right.
That'll work.
Oh, actually, another one to add is, and this is going to sound kind of corny, but Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, the character Cesario Viola, there was some time, I'm going to say when I was between the ages of 10 and 12, where I ran around telling everybody that my name was Cesario, because it was it was like I love gender bending like that and drag and stuff, and so
Say a
Cesario.
bit more about the character
Huh?
for those of us who aren't so familiar with Shakespeare. Can you quickly describe the character, Cesario?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Cesario is a character in a Shakespeare play, and she has a twin brother. And there's a shipwreck. They get split up, and she ends up on this island that her country's at war with. So she poses as a man, and she tries. She falls in love with this her boss. Her boss is in love with this woman. The woman that's the boss is in love with Cesario, and so it's like this Jerry Springer kind of triangle going on, and it's just the best. I personally I think it's Shakespeare's best, but again, could be biased. But that was an
Solid.
important role in my life.
Mm-hmm. Totally solid choice, definitely.
Thank you.
I don't suppose either of you have seen the cartoon Lloyd in Space.
Lloyd in Space?
Lloyd in Space, like Lloyd, the name Lloyd.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it.
Oh, cool. Did you see the transgender episode of that one?
No,
No, I haven't heard of it.
I want to download.
It's really good, and it went on the friggin' Disney Channel, but no one seemed to notice. There's a character because it's sci-fi, as you said. You can play around with everything, and there's this amazing character. I think the name is Zoit, but they're purple. They're completely androgynous. They don't, and everyone's trying to guess what their gender is, and trying to be like, okay, we'll buy loads of drinks, and we'll see them go to the bathroom, and they don't go to the bathroom. Okay, they're going home. Damn it! Need to find out. And it turns out their species gets to choose, after they get to a certain age, what they want to be. And so there's this whole episode about discovering that, no, you should be a boy because this. Oh, wait, girls do that too. No, you should be a girl because this. Oh, wait, no, that's a lie. Okay. And it's just really well done and interesting. Yes, sci-fi. It's a fantastic... Yeah, this is real. Sci-fi. It's a brilliant breeding ground for just totally original ideas.
Sounds grand.
That sounds great. My, I'm excited. Lloyd in Space?
Mm-hmm. I'll try and look up the name of the episode. I can link you to later. Yeah, that was the important one for me, definitely. So, bring it back to the Switch.
Yes.
Now that the Kickstarter, congratulations, has been successful, but still has time left.
Thank you.
What will the excess money help you to do with the production?
Make it better.
Get the additional funds raised.
Specifically, our goal is to, overall improve production quality. So the more we can afford, like, with the way we shoot film, the cost to shoot per day drops off very quickly the more days we can shoot. And we get a tax credit on every dollar, which is just to say we don't call it a subsidy because people don't like to say the word subsidy in Canada, but this is a subsidy. So if people contribute more, we can afford to shoot more episodes. We can afford better camera work, better props, better background. We can shoot at a slightly slower pace, which is a little easier on our actors. The performances improve a bit, and more specifically, we have a series of stretch goals. So if we can get to $65,000, we're going to be working with Charlie Spatz and Julie Vu to do a series of video articles on shopping for underwear if you are transgender, and what it means to fit into or break with norms of gender around presentation, clothing, and body. And what we've had there've been a couple of instances in Canada and I believe in Australia as well of trans people getting kicked out of places where they're trying to shop for underwear, which is a little weird.
Yeah, that ain't cool.
Wrong, and it was this kind of weird idea we wanted to see about, and people were like, yeah, we should do that, and so that's one thing we're going to do. But if we can get $80,000, we're going to be making a fan featurette where the people are going to vote on what they want to see in it. So we're actually going to be having the vote coming up, I think, in the next week, where we've got a series of different options to be like, we can make one of these episodes. What do you want it to be? And then also, what happens in that webisode is going to be drawn from the experiences that people send in to us and vote on. If we can go higher than that, then we can turn that fan webisode into a full episode, which will be added onto the season, and everybody who has contributed will also get a copy of that.
Fantastic.
I think the thing I'm most looking forward is the better the budget, the better the crafts table, which in film lingo means the food buffet.
Of course, very important. You've got to keep on top of your game. Keep hydrated, keep fed.
I'm crazy about the food. It's good.
As it stands, we, unlike a lot of independent film, we're very strongly committed to paying our crew at least a living wage. It's still below industry standards, but we want to make sure that people can make rent and food for the month. We also try to feed people something healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So the money ultimately goes to our crew.
Definitely good. And anyone watching at home, it is genuinely super important. I've interviewed a lot of people who've done web series, and if you have a good food cart, it just changes the atmosphere and changes the way you can pace yourself. It's
really
good
does.
stuff.
You can't shoot with a poorly nourished crew. Quality
Exactly.
diminishes very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So what other questions did you have?
Let's see. So the Switch hopes to air for August 2015 in Canada and September 2015 in the USA.
Yes.
From there's a little timeline on the Kickstarter page, and people can look at that to see how the production schedule looks. Are there any plans to try and find someone to broadcast it internationally or in Europe? Like the
Absolutely,
UK,
yes.
this place that I'm in.
We are talking with, there's a different network called OutTV, which broadcasts in the Netherlands, I believe. However, OutTV in Canada has a service called Gay Direct, which is available in 8 countries, which definitely includes the UK, I think also like Brazil and South Africa. The show would go out over there at some point. However, we're working our way very slowly into talking with significant web broadcasters to get the show on certain services that people may have at home that make it possible to watch TV on their computer.
I'm hoping it's the one I'm thinking of, because that's the one I own.
Okay. Probably
That's sweet, if it is. That's fantastic.
Whoa, wait. I have a feeling
Now,
I know what you're talking about now.
And just letting you know, in television, nothing is signed yet. But again, the stronger pitch we can make to them, the more likely they'll be like, yeah, sure. Like we'll take this when you're done. Here's what we'll do with it. We can then take that to the bank, and we can be like, hey, we can use this to pay our crew, and we can make a longer season that everyone can see. So we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let's see. Since the Kickstarter started, has anything changed behind the scenes? A lot of different interests from people, or I know one thing's changed, that you've added the character of Addie and put out
Yes.
an open call for them casting. How much stuff do you think has changed since the beginning?
I'll get to the question of Addie later. We've had this amazing outpouring of community support. We have more offers of volunteer labor than we can often use. We have a very large number of people who would like to be in the show. We have we've been on the CBC, which is like the Canadian equivalent of the BBC, on their local television, but also their national radio and their national web service. There's this really strong buzz around the show, and we've also had people who have come out and said, hey, I think I can get you a space. We can get you a space to shoot in for a really good deal if you're shooting in these months. And other people are like, hey, I've actually got part of a camera set. I might not be using it at this period. That's the biggest thing that's changed. Is this amazing public response to the show, for which we're very, very grateful. The network. Oh no, we've had people who've come out and said, hey, let me introduce you to people I know who are involved with networks, which is really kind and awesome. As far as the character of Addie, we actually had a character similar to this who was cut from the pilot, and that's one of the things we want to go back and reshoot.
Oh, now I know who Addie is. I was all confused. I'm like, who's Addie? Now I'm kind of getting what you're saying.
Yeah. What did I want to say about Addie? Yes, that's we're going to be basically putting Addie back into the pilot and also working them back into the first season. And that was one of the three things that I was like in the pilot. It's like, no, we don't want to lose this. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to go and fix that. Well, I know we're going to be able to go and fix that in some capacity. Let's see. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very interested to see that's a good thing to bring back in as well. You know, trans people of color. Yes, more of those. Thank you.
Yeah.
The only changes that I've noticed is since the Kickstarter started is I have all of these random people adding me on Facebook from all over the world, and I had an incident where I was like walking down the street downtown Vancouver and somebody stopped and recognized me. And so since the Kickstarter went out and the show's kind of done everything, I've become a little bit of a celebrity, so that's pretty awesome.
That's fantastic. Your show doesn't even exist yet.
Right? Totally awesome. It's just great that
like it's on TV.
Pardon me?
Actually, it does exist in Canada. It has broadcast several times on television, but it will soon be existing as a full series.
Fantastic.
I just keep thumbs upping everything.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt people, so I'm doing thumbs up too. It's a good way of telegraphing. I've got two. I've only got a couple more questions.
Yep.
So the Kickstarter also had ties into things like the Tear Down the Wall music video and the Finding Gender comic. Are there more other forms of media that you're wanting to tap into as a crossover?
Speaking of Kickstarter goals, one that we already passed is that we're going to be making a classroom resource kit for teachers who often just have basic like Trans 101 questions about how to work this into curriculum. And that can be everything from just like explaining basic concepts to kids to maybe like saying like, well, are the books that we're picking like confirming norms around like gender and colonization, or are they challenging them? So we're like going ahead on that one, which is something that's actually very topical in British Columbia because there was a protracted and heated series of debates at the Vancouver School Board about adopting this fairly basic trans inclusion policy. So we want to like follow up on that. We have a very progressive teachers union in British Columbia, and we are feeling optimistic about their participation. They're in the middle of a strike right now, so we're going to give it a couple of months.
Fair enough. That's fantastic.
Other media, we're also going to be cutting together a song for the opening.
Ooh, oh, of course. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
See, I look forward to that one. Can you reveal anything about who's involved with that song, or should we keep it a secret?
The Vancouver Femme Choir is involved with the song, and their conductor, Kate Monster, is arranging it, and the Vancouver Femme Choir is this really, like, incredibly musically fantastic concert that just started up when I went to this, and I was like, oh my god, like, I would totally stand in line to go to this even if my girlfriend wasn't there. And I was there volunteering. So she's going to be, they're going to be arranging it, and we're going to be having the main singers themselves being transgender. And that's also another thing that we'd like to challenge, is the idea of transgender voices in being euphonic, to sound good. And right now we're talking with a very socially conscious songwriter about maybe using one of her songs. I'll see how that works. She's been on Letterman.
Can I sing in it?
You can sing pretty well, Chance.
You're a singer-songwriter.
Yeah. That's my background career. My backup.
Your backup.
Yeah.
When music's your backup, you know that your primary is pretty risky.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty well.
I'd say
Hopefully you can just do both. Let's see. Also, at the very beginning, you said that you hadn't tried Google Plus before, but no, you were actually both together last time I saw you in a Google Plus video, Conversations with Trans Folks, on the
Oh yeah.
the Multiverse Conversations channel. Are
Oh,
you
we're
planning
so
on? It was only about a month ago. Are you planning
yeah.
on doing any more of those?
The plan with Logan Alexander, so that was kind of an experimental piece that he's hoping to work into more of his thesis at a local university, to talk about using interactive and improvisational theater as a way of initiating conversations around gender. But what you didn't see is we actually did a live performance of that the previous week, and that was going back and trying out different forms and getting audience input about where to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic!
We seem to get
Absolutely
put together one, Amy.
Oh, you work together well, then why not?
Yeah, well, we recently just did this the Kickstarter release party. We hosted together. Then we've done a couple outside of the project things, and then on Tuesday, is it that we got another thing that we're doing together?
Yep. Pride Youth event.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
We get too much together to host things a lot.
Yeah. Like I said, we've been enjoying a very large amount of community support. Very grateful for that. It also means that the community gets to enjoy the Switch. So, yeah.
Brilliant. I'm glad it's going so well. And it's not even out yet. Soon. Oh. Who knows how much recognition there'll be after that one. Let's see. So, final question, just something I ask everyone for fun. If you could have any one cybernetic implant, what would it be?
The Android system?
Oh, hang on. You said it at the same time. Should we go Chance first?
I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm going to say that I would want to have Google Android system implanted into my brain so that I could have the internet and all of those fun apps on hand in my brain at all times.
It's super handy until you become addicted to Candy Crush, because then you just
Yes.
don't move anywhere. You're too busy.
Yes, that's what I'd love to do. What about you?
I would get a sleep switch. You know how you close your laptop and it goes to sleep? I would love to be able to just like nod off anytime I want to.
Oh my god, that'd be so handy.
And then to wake up in 5 seconds and you're like, ping, hi, ready to go. That'd be great,
That's
It's so infuriating that we can't already go to sleep when we want to, because that's wasting hours on just being uncomfortable. It's like, no, sleep switch, definitely a good plan.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a weird side note. There is a fantastic episode of an American podcast called Planet Money, which is a microeconomics podcast, about the history of lighting at night.
Ooh.
Yeah, and how much illumination one day of work will get you. And it's gone from like using animal fat candles in ancient Babylon, where a day of work would get you 5 minutes of light, to electrification, where one day of work would get you 20,000 hours of light, and just how that's affected society.
I am adding that to my bookmarks.
Yep.
That sounds
Planet
fascinating.
Money.
Planet Money VMPR. There we go. Sweet.
And
So thank you both so much for taking time to talk to me.
Oh, cheers.
Absolutely.
No problem. See, so the Switch Kickstarter is currently on. I will put a big, massive link here that everyone can click just anywhere on the screen. Nearing $60,000 past its limit, so it's going to happen. Make it even bigger, make it even better, and excited to see it somewhere, anywhere. I want to see it as soon as it comes out, so I'll find a way. I don't want to swim to Canada, but it's a possibility. Is there anything else you'd like to plug while you're here, or anything else to say?
Thank you, everyone, for all of the support that we've already received, for sure. I'm really excited about the project, and I'm excited that we made our Kickstarter goal, and I'm excited to see how much further we go.
I'd just like to remind myself and I guess everyone else that there's usually a ton of really cool independent media projects going on out there, and the only thing that they need to be fantastic is public support. And this doesn't even necessarily mean money. It can mean like just showing up and volunteering or what have you. There is this potential to have this independent television / web video revolution go even further than it has. And all it needs is time and effort.
So completely true. I mean, the webcomic scene has already gone through and just made resources of every single complex combination that you can possibly think of, because webcomics brilliantly only need one person to function. Web
Yes.
series? What was that, sorry? Oh, no. Yeah, web series need support and funding to look really good and super awesome. And if you watch the pilot, you'll see it's so clear, it's so nice. That level of production quality is just the next step.
Thank you.
In that case, thanks everyone for watching. I'm just going to click the stop button.
Thank you for your time.